Thank you, Julia. Good morning, everybody. My presentation about the local gastronomic points in Romania. Um, I would like to give you a little bit of context before I start. So, actually, this type of service was not made when we made it a national policy. Rather, was for a long time in some specific areas, and I think also it's not a Romanian idea or a service. It's also all across the Europe. Why? Because in mountain areas, especially those mountain areas which are not very circulated by tourists, and in Danube Delta in Romania, where communities are very small and very far away from other centers. In general, tourists prefer the nature and the quiet of those areas, but from time to time prefer also cook meal. So actually, when they are there, they are going to the small villages and ask somebody if some grandmother there is cooking for money or in general, for money. So they eat there, and that was, let's say, an habit for those tourists for a long time before we create local gastronomic points. Um, what are the local gastronomic points? Are a small public eating establishment, in general, in the house of the people in that village, where traditionally dishes made from local ingredients, and they are prepared and served in the local tradition. Their main characteristics are to operate in rural households, traditional dishes, and in general, many of those traditional dishes you couldn't find, let's say, in traditional restaurants all across Romania or in urban areas, let's say it. The ingredients come mostly from the local production because, like I said, there are very communities which are very in areas that are unpopulated mostly. And food is served directly to the consumer, so actually there are no intermediaries in between. The idea was for us was starting somewhere in 2023 when some of those, let's say, mountain enthusiasts and hobby fishermen go to the authorities and try to find something that a legal framework to establish for those who cook in those small communities. So actually, from the point of the Ministry of Agriculture, there was an agency, which was the National Agency of Mountain Areas, who have this task to implement, and they create a law which defined the framework for creating a local gastronomic point. When we created the law, let's say the biggest headaches we have with sanitary veterinary authorities. Why is that? Because there was no issue of hygiene, let's say it, but it's obvious that those grandmothers in general and the villages doesn't have the utilities and investments, like a regular restaurant. So actually, everything was made very traditional, and we have some quite discussions with the sanitary veterinary authorities. But like I said, there was no issue of hygiene or security or food security. After we created the legal framework, we try to create an integrated model of how those gastronomic points will function, not only in the legal framework, but also taking into account the national policies towards those local gastronomic points. So actually, it's not very complicated, but we take the common agricultural policy through the leader approach and through the local action groups from Romania, which are in number of 246, and they cover like 95% of the total eligible areas for leader, which are villages and small cities. And together with local action groups, we create the framework in order for those local action groups to
Thank
promote
you,
and
Julia. Good morning,
to
everybody.
establish a lot of connection with
My
the local
presentation about
gastronomic
the
points.
local gastronomic point.
That was the idea, and from this we go further, just a meal, just a restaurant, and to create alongside gastronomy, rural tourism, cultural heritage, and also we have projects which implement also digital technologies into the concept of local gastronomic points. The impact, the economic and social impact was first of all, diversification of income in rural areas, especially in those villages which are off-grid mostly, creating opportunities for farmers and households, promoting local products, preserving culinary tradition, and strengthening the identity of the local communities. So, um, activities associated was gastronomic tastings, cookings, workshops, local culinary events, integrated into gastronomic tourist routes, and promotion of the local projects. A very important part of this road was made by the National Agency of Mountain Areas, who actually train a lot of people in order to obtain this tag of local gastronomic points, which was a really success because most of those people doesn't know exactly how to manage in order to have the approval of being an LGP. So actually, the agency, the national agency, giving those trainings for free for all those, especially in the mountain areas, but not just there, to create those local gastronomic points, and also promoted them through their the dishes, to their recipes, and to their tradition. Not mention also the fact that many of those who involved in the local gastronomic point doesn't share with the world or with their clients only the food, but also the tradition, the local tradition, the local architecture, or the tradition of growing crops or breeding animals in their household or area. One of the most interesting project that we have under Leader was a project called QR for All, where several legs, especially from the mountain areas, through a cooperation project, create this project which was destined to put QR codes on local gastronomic points and different tourist tracks, let's say it, and to connect the different areas from different legs, in order to have like an itinerary, to have a visit to the mountain areas, and also to taste along this journey all the local gastronomic points that are on the way. So the idea is to go a little bit further with them. We are now in the process to integrate this tip dev of local gastronomic points, mostly the people who are working there, in a scale, and to add it also to our ACIS platform in Romania. First, to share good practices with others interested in the future to open this type of service, and also to share the most parts of their journey, like type of financement that they can receive, also the problems or the issues that they face on their journey to become a local gastronomic point, and also to integrate more in the strategies of the local action groups, the part of this part of local gastronomic points. Why we do that? Because we think that in the future we will maybe if we replace the local gastronomic points with other projects dedicated to people in rural areas, we can use this infrastructure and this philosophy of implementing for the future. That was my presentation. I'm looking forward for your questions. Thank you.
For further information, you can visit the Modern Acres website at modernacres.eu or do follow us on social media.